I think there's more money out there than there are projects out there right now. Investors need to realize like they're in the driver's seat and use us against each other. Like be upfront about it and just be like, hey, I'm shopping you. Like, give me your best terms. And that's where you really make us be competitive and give best terms, be front footed, be very clear. And then you go and take that same information to three other people and then do your apples to apples. And then you can decide on what's best for you. That is the only way, like all stay competitive and you guys all get the best rates. And then we get really quality borrowers as well, because everyone's got their ducks in a row, not just one side of it.
Welcome back to the Seven Figure Flipping Podcast. I'm Adam Whitney. Today, we're tackling one of the biggest roadblocks in real estate, funding your deals. Just yesterday, we had Melissa Korda sit down with our community and break down hard money, private money, and everything in between. If you've ever wondered how top investors scale from a couple of flips to hundreds a year, this episode is for you. Let's go.
Within the 7FF community, we have a couple different tiers of members and doing different things. We've got people doing hundreds of deals every single year. We've got people who are newer, just getting going. And one of the things that comes up, we're really good at raising private money. And if you've ever heard Bill Allen talk, especially if you've been a part of a flip funding challenge or something like that, he's always talking about we want to fund our deals at 115%. And then you start hearing about hard money. And it's kind of like sometimes people who have always self-funded deals are like, what is hard money? What does that mean? It sounds tricky. It sounds like, what is it? Or maybe your experience is just with a local bank, that you've had. So you've self-funded with assistance from a local bank. And that's great. And then you start learning about hard money and what it is. And then you're also working on raising private money. And you start having some success with private money. And then you hear of all of our members that are in the altitude group are using hard and private money together. And it's like, what? Wait, what? Why? So Melissa, I haven't even told you any of this in advance, but we're kind of setting the stage of hopefully you can answer some of these questions of why do a mix of hard and private money, and then why are all the people who are scaling and really moving quick, why are they all using hard money? And then there's a value add that comes from the relationship with a good hard money lender. So there's where they're looking over your shoulder, basically making sure that your deal makes sense. Is that okay? Is that fair to say, Melissa? Okay. Yeah, good. So it matters. Not all hard money lenders are equal at all for a number of reasons. One has to do with speed. One has to do with consistency in having a relationship. Are you working with the same support people? Terms and conditions, and then making sure that they can fund your deals and then helping you understand kind of what's needed to do a deal with them. So Melissa, maybe if you could go into kind of what's required also to do a deal with Conventus. And then I know you have a special offer for everybody who's a part of the 7F community too. So I want to make sure we hit that. Melissa, just for some context too, we're always talking to our members about funding 115% of their deals. And that's mixing hard and private money. And part of that is the draw system. So maybe if you could, explain a little bit of that too, when we're funding purchase price, and then there's a rehab budget. And then I just got off a call. We were talking burst strategy and rentals, and DSCR, came up as well. So maybe if you could not just address fix and flip, but also DSCR. I just put a lot on the table. I probably should have told you this 2 weeks ago as you prepared, but okay. Is that a good enough, Tracy, of why we're here today? Of let's understand
Yes.
hard money and how it works and what's required and all of those things. Does that work?
Yes, that works perfectly.
Okay.
And I mean, honestly, the title of today's presentation, right? Maximizing your real estate investment through lending. And there's many different types of
lending products that are out there, and I'm sure Melissa's going to touch on all of them and why they matter and why there are different products, right? Because there are different things that make sense for different types of projects. And so I'm just really excited to have Melissa joining us today. She and I met through a women's real estate and entrepreneurship group, and I've just been super impressed with the work that she does. And I hear so many wonderful things from other women in the group who have partnered with Melissa on projects. I was like, you need to be working with us at Seven Figure because we have incredible folks who need good lenders. And so part of my job is to make sure that we're bringing great lending partners to our community. So super
Oh,
excited to bring Melissa here today. I'll let you do a little bit more of your personal background and introduction, Melissa. I
yep.
don't want to take that away from you. So I will hand the floor over to you to kick things off. And we've still got some more folks joining, so I'll just keep admitting.
Yeah, and
Okay,
if
cool.
anybody has questions that you drop in the chat, Melissa, we'll watch the chat as well.
Perfect.
We'll just bring those up.
Yeah, and like everything you talked about, I'm pretty much going to cover. We all need a little bit more of something. So those that do will have opportunity to like reach out to me and kind of like delve into what they need more. Um, but I think we're going to cover it all. We're going to go fast, but it's going to be eye-opening. I always get told that I laugh, but it's good. So how now I need to share, right? Because for my PowerPoint.
Yes, your
Okay.
permission you should be able to share.
So nice to meet you guys. I know virtual is kind of like this new thing and weird, and but we're all getting used to it, right? So I'm excited to be here. My passion started with lending. I do say I have passion for it because I really found a way to help people. But I haven't been doing this forever. So my passion has really like grown over the last 4 years. So I'm based out of Seattle and I didn't become a lender until COVID. So prior to that, I have a master's in kinesiology. I had a different world. I was going to retire. I had a plan. Everything was in line. And then COVID hit and I became a stay-at-home mom. And it was probably the worst job I'd ever taken. And I was forced to do it, and it was slave labor. But in that, I really learned a lot about myself and kind of like what I wanted for my future. And I was forced to make a choice about things. And so I started this new endeavor because I was a flipper. So I wasn't, I enjoyed investing, but just not on this side of it. And I did that like on the side of my W-2. So I've kind of been in all of your shoes at one point. But I jumped into this job. I didn't really think it was going to be a long-term thing, but I absolutely love it. Like if people ask if I could snap my fingers and just go back to the way it was, I would say no. I absolutely love what I do, 20 years in an industry, and I hope I can spend the next 20 years in this industry because I really my love language is helping. And so I get to do that. But then all get to make money and like succeed and like see like growth happen. So it's really fruitful. And I was lucky to land with a company called Conventus, and we do a really good job on the lending side. But what I learned and why I'm here today and why like I have a passion for teaching is I learned that there's so much fraud and there's so much unclarity about lending and borrowing and all the different products that there needs to be more of that. So instead of just being a salesperson approach, like I come from the educational approach of if this is your goal, these are your options, these are routes, and then you decide with more, feeling like you have more tools, more equipped and more empowered, you can decide like what's the best path rather than getting just talked into a great deal that sounds good or sold on something or in some Facebook scam that are pretty good nowadays. So that's why I'm here. So I'm going to teach about lending, but it's not, it's going to be a holistic approach. So I'm going to maybe pop in some things that we do really well. I'll even probably talk about some things that we don't do great. But I want you to walk away feeling like you have a better understanding of products that are out there and routes you could take to fund your investments and just feel a little bit more empowered to ask the right questions and vet your lenders correctly. I hope to be one of them. I can't win every deal and I'm not for everyone, but the goal is to at least just empower you to make a good choice when you're out there shopping. Uh, okay. Oh. I gotta scroll. Sorry. Okay, so nobody take notes. I'm gonna send this PowerPoint to you guys so you don't have to take notes. There's a lot of verbiage on it, but I'm gonna start from the beginning real quick and just go over the bigger picture because there is a bigger picture. It's not just find a good deal, do the rehab and close. There is a whole process to getting a loan and the entire step. So I always try to lay this out so it's kind of so people are more eyes open. So it's not like, oh, that's easy, like no problem. Like there are a lot of things that have to happen to make a loan happen. And this is with a private lender, a hard money lender, or even a bank. We all go through these steps. And then I also make this sheet that has ABCs of lending. So you kind of understand what lenders are saying. I feel like sometimes we talk through borrowers and we're just like, oh, the LTC of the LTV, and not every really one understands. Or you get an LOI and you're like, everything's an acronym. Like, what does it all mean? So I broke down the basics of these, but I could do 3 pages of this. But this is the basic terms. You're always going to come across something new, but just kind of a base of understanding of what you're looking at, what you're reading. Okay, so to just kick it off, there are lots of great options for funding your deals. I always say to have a few favorites because you never, like one great lender will not be able to do every single deal for you. You're going to have options. But conventional, I want to break down the difference of all of us. So conventional is the standard way. It's the bank, it's the credit union, it's the harder process. You have to do income verification. There's got to be seasoning on your funds. It taxes your debt to income ratio. It reports your credit. It's a longer process to close, and there's lots of restrictions. However, like you can get really good deals if it's your first time buying a property. Credit unions, local credit unions do a really good job if they're really trying to work on the area. So I always say to have a couple good relationships with a credit union or a bank because you just never know like when they will fit for you and when you can use them. But eventually investors kind of graduate from conventional because we run out of DTI and we end up not having income anymore. That's the goal, right? So that's where hard money comes in. And hard money has all different names: hard money loans, bridge loans. It depends on what generation you're from, is what you call it. But hard money loans are kind of like the bridge between a conventional loan and a private money lender. And I'll go there next. But hard money is not a bank, but it's not a person. It's still a smaller institutionalized thing. It's a company, usually backed by a board or some kind of group. But it's an entity that usually has guidelines and still parameters. But here we no longer look at income. We're no longer looking at seasoning of funds. So we just eliminated that issue. We don't touch DTI, eliminated that issue. No credit reporting, a 5 to 10 day process to close these guys. And we do bridge loans construction and DSCR on the hard money side. So you can see like how restrictive banks can be versus hard money and how many doors just open for you. So that was a big plus of having hard money companies be more readily available. But then on the other farther side of the spectrum, you have a private money lender. And these guys are great because they're very similar to hard money. So all those things that we eliminated with the banks, private money doesn't do either. But they generally can be like a person and their money that lends it out. It could be a small group of people, a fund. It's not so institutionalized. So instead of like the guidelines, it's smaller guidelines. Like if we like the property or we like the deal, we like the borrower, their FICO's not great, but we know them, they've, executed, we'll still lend to them. They have a lot more control, a lot more freedom. They do a lot more creative deals as far as like what hard money will do. So these guys are great because they help you with exit plans or with projects that aren't so mainstream, but you do pay more. So you always pay for what you get. Like if you want that flexibility and you have that lower FICO or you need all the money up front or something like that, you're going to pay more in rate and fees compared to hard money loans. Is there a time for them? Yes, like absolutely. You always want to have a good couple private money lenders in your pocket as well as hard money is too. And with cash, people ask all the time, like, why would I not use all my cash to fund deals? Or, I just save all my money. I don't want to use any cash. I think it's important to use cash as a tool and not as your only avenue. Cash can be, it helps you get better rates if you put more funds down. It helps you to scale and grab properties faster. There's loan products that can come in and replace your cash. So there's ways that cash can be useful. I come from the generation, if you didn't have the money, you can't spend it. So you like no credit, no nothing. So using credit and debt was a big deal for me as an adult. But it definitely is a useful tool. It's just being smart with your cash and like making sure you never, I believe, making sure that you never use all of it and you don't always just save all of it either. So in a nutshell, that's kind of like an overview of the different things. Now I'm going to talk the most about hard money because that's what I do and know the most about. But definitely like there's no knock on any other kind of lending. If your project needs it and your project can use it and it's the best one when it pencils, use it. Like that's really all that matters. But let's go to hard money. Um, Oh, well, let's go to vetting a lender first. Okay, so now you know what kind of product you need. You've decided you need a hard money lender. Now you're going to vet your lender. These are things to consider when you're talking to lenders and looking. Like there are different types of us. So we're a direct lender and there's many direct lenders. It's not like there's only a couple, but that means that we control the fund, that it's our money. We decide, we don't have to ask other people. We don't have to do anything like that. Like it is controlled by us. But then you have third party lenders and you see these guys on Facebook a lot where they I have access to all these lenders and all these programs, and usually they are white labeling. So they are pretending to be a lender, basically. And there's a lot of fraud with that because there's no liability land, there's no like real chain of liability or where you're wiring money or anything. So I do believe like we need to avoid the third party lenders and really focus on direct lenders and then broker relationships. There's brokers out there that are basically middleman for the lender and the borrower, and they do a service that helps if you need that. Like there's a specific reason I think brokers are very helpful. But the thing to understand is you don't need a broker to do a deal and to get a lender. And when you do need a broker and you are going to use one, you are going to pay a fee for that. So you almost pay double the fees to have a broker in that. Like they will add on their fees to be the middleman. So as you guys are in these groups and like learning about costs and like keeping everything about profit, in my brain, I'm like, Google a direct lender and go direct to the source. It helps with communication, it helps with decreasing fraud, it helps with closing time, and it really does help your bottom line.
Hey,
But don't get me
Melissa.
wrong, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just thinking about part of the brokers. You form these relationships, like you said at the beginning, you want to have options. So
Yeah.
you form relationships with multiple lenders and you start to understand like what their sweet spot is, like what they lend on and how it matches for you and what your play is. How I typically see it is you find these lenders, you have that relationship, but then you have a deal that's just not what they do. Right.
Hmm.
It's just something that's out there. And oftentimes they can refer you to somebody. But then if they can't, that's oftentimes where a broker can come in because they may have relationship with 40 different, entities out there and they
Yeah,
might be a little bit creative and they go, yeah, let me connect you with someone. They can start doing some work for you.
totally.
You're running your business and then they're finding you funding for your deal. So
Totally.
place for both.
Absolutely. And somebody said once, like, well, are brokers in your calls when you say that? And I'm like, I don't know, but that's the truth. Like, as far as I'm investor based, like that is the truth. Like, you don't need a broker, but you may. So it's good to have one and a good resource because there are, like, right now, pad splits are hot and not every lender will exit a long-term pad split. So having a broker that can find them and good pricing, yeah, you'd pay for that. Like you're going to pay for that service. Another way brokers are really useful is if you still have a W-2 or if it's just not your wheelhouse, like you're not that person that's the finances and the lender, and you don't want to even, that's not your thing. They do a lot of work for you and they can help you really take that off your plate in a way. But it's again, there's a lot more diligence, I would say. I always say when you use with somebody, like make sure you're using referrals and they have a good background. And but there's a lot more diligence in that because you're really relying on a third party to make a deal happen, and that sometimes is very difficult. So no knock on brokers. There's a place for everyone in this industry. But I just think like if we're really talking about scaling and keeping those costs down, my borrowers are doing that directly to the lenders. Going to relationship. There is such thing as repeat borrower benefits. The when you get with a like with us, the more deals that you do with us, the better things you get. Like you get more leverage, you'll get better rates, your underwriting's faster, will close faster. It's just easier. It's like dating, you know. Every time you meet somebody new, you have to like get to know each other, find out all the information, and it takes a while. So I am always encourage staying with good borrowers that you have and have good relationships, but I do encourage you to build multiple ones of those. Like I do think it's important because when your favorite lender can do it, your second favorite lender can do it, and you're already in their system. You're already in the cycle. So we do benefit from having a good relationship, repeat business. And then I think like one thing we all miss is as lenders, we're in sales, like we're salespeople. So we have to, like you guys as investors, remember we're in sales, like they understand our intentions, understand like we're trying to sell you our product as much as like you're trying to get us to give you money. The relationship goes both ways. There's a lot of lenders. I think there's more money out there than there are projects out there right now. So I think like investors need to realize like they're in the driver's seat and use us against each other. Like be upfront about it and just be like, hey, I'm shopping you. Like, give me your best terms. And that's where you really make us be competitive and give best terms, be front footed, be very clear. And then you go and take that same information to three other people and then do your apples to apples. And then you can decide on what's best for you. I think that is the only way like all stay competitive and you guys all get the best rates. And then we get really quality borrowers as well because everyone's got their ducks in a row, not just one side of it. So it's not just don't ever feel like you're begging somebody to lend you on a deal. Like there's a lot of lenders, like have that empowerment to know like you've got a great deal, you've underwritten it, you've looked at it 25 different ways. Like now you just need the money and have that confidence. I get a lot of times people will call me and say like, do you think you'd give me some money or do you think you would lend? Like what do I need? And I'm always laughing like I need you as much as you need me. So it's a win-win for both of us. Um, and then always compare apples to apples. Like when you're looking at term sheets, understand, like really look at the fees, the interest, the rehab, and pencil them all out. So when you look at everything, don't just look at, oh, that they have a better rate, but then their fees are double. Or this one charges draws all up front at closing, where this one lets you pick how many draws you do and you pay as you close. Like you have to look at all of that and pencil it all the way through the exit, not just through the close of your purchase, because that's where people, a lot of times I feel like they don't underwrite well because they only underwrite through the purchase. And then everything else is the ARV and the hope of that it's going to close that way. But I really encourage people to underwrite all the way through the exit. So if this takes you 5 months, add up all those holding costs. Now add up the fees to sell this and the costs for the closing on the exit of that, and then look at numbers to numbers and see like which one really in the long run was better. And that I find is really eye-opening for borrowers. Okay, moving on. Okay, so bridge loans. We're going to get into this now. So bridge loans is your short-term loan. These ones need rehab. They are the construction loans. They need stabilization. They need time. You got to close fast. This is your bridge loan. So think bridge from crappy house dream to bridge it to your future sale, DSCR, rental. These guys there's lots of options here. It's not just a fix and flip. So you can do renovations with a bridge loan. You can, all your ground up construction, your ADU builds, that's all bridge loan. Refinances you can do in a bridge loan. Transactional you can do in a bridge loan, and delayed financing, all bridge loan. Bridge loan is usually 12 months, 12 to 18 months. There's no prepays on these guys. It's interest only. So it's really just a temporary loan to get you through your project, and no personal residence. Now, when you look at a bridge loan, I laid out kind of how it looks like, basic structure. So most of us lenders, our minimum is 100,000 for a loan. We all max out at 75% LTARV, and that's really to protect you as well, because if we go higher than that, you might over leverage yourself on your exit or on your sale or on your refi. You get better pricing if your LTARV is at 70%. And that means loan to after repair value. So looking at the projection numbers. Most of these loans are 12 months, some will go to 18. There's no prepay interest on the undrawn. Non-Dutch, we'll talk about that in a minute, but most good lenders will do no interest on your undrawn. So you're not making any interest payments on budget money until you use it. And these guys can go in personal name or LLC names. So when you look at these, you're going to get your term sheet, and everyone asks me, what are your fees? And I tell them my fees. And then I wait for them to ask me, what are the other fees? And no one does. So know that there's some other fees. So our fees, we have a rate, we have an origination point, which is a percent of your loan. We have processing fee, rehab fee, and then we have draws fees. But there's third-party fees. You're going to pay for an appraisal, you're going to pay for legal fees in certain states, and then escrow and title have fees. Depending on if you do construction versus rental, title and escrow will have different fees for those as well. Side note on escrow and title, that's all negotiable. So if you have a good company you like, you can negotiate those fees too to try to help you. People don't know that, but you can.
Hey, Melissa,
So
if you
yeah,
could maybe just circle in back real quick, like what is a point? Because people hear that all the
okay.
time. It's like it's 1 point and then this is the percent. If you could just kind of share that, and then also cash flow is so important. We've Adam's given a couple really good examples, so has Bill, of all these fees and what they end up being in total. But if you could, and if it's coming up in the presentation, we could wait, but just to talk through cash flow, like how much of this do you need up front? Are you paying monthly?
Yeah.
Just if you could make sure we hit on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the point thing, I actually added that percent of total loan amount because that is a good question everyone asks. So I don't know why we call it a point, but that is the origination fee to do the loan. And most all direct lenders are going to charge 1 point. So like we charge 1 point. We'll do promos and stuff where it's less, but the average loan, I'd say 90% of our loans are 1 point. We charge more if they're riskier or like there's issues or something, but most are 1 point. You'll know if you are with a broker or a third party or just a really expensive lender if it's like two plus points. Like even 1.5 seems like a lot because all of us are really but we're all around 1 point. But it's the percent of your total loan. So it's not just the percent of your purchase, what we funded on the purchase, it's of the rehab fund as well. And we're going to get to that part. I have a slide on that. So when you do the point, you're going to look at the percentage of the total loan amount. And then when we talk about cash flow, all these loans are monthly payments. So you're going to do an interest only monthly payment. And so if you're doing the add value project, you're going to pay so much per month until you start doing your rehab. And then you'll start accruing interest on the rehab that you use. So your payment will go up throughout the life of this loan as you use your rehab money. So as far as that, like we definitely ask, like when we're doing construction loans, we ask people to have at least 10% of their total loan amount in reserves that they just show and have, like they don't have to give it to us. But we do ask that new borrowers can show like at least 3 months of interest only payments. Like you don't ever want to be without reserves. That's why it's always good to have some of that cash reserves just there. And then when we get to, I'll talk about the cash to start your rehab projects too, because there is funds involved with that as well. Okay, so going to the bottom and how it looks. So when you get a quote on a bridge loan, we're going to tell you how much we can lend on the purchase price. So anywhere from 80 to 90% is the average, and then 100% of your rehab budget. Most all of us will do 100% of the rehab budget. Now, there are lenders that advertise we'll do 100% of everything, and it's true, but then they'll say it has to be under 75% of the LTARV. So that really like eliminates a lot of loans because if you fund 100% of the purchase and 100% of the rehab, it's well over 75% of the LTARV. So the loan to after repair value. So there's not a ton of instances when you have that cap of LTARV. So there are social programs that do 100 and 100 and they fit for like that really experienced borrower. But for the most part, when you're looking at how lenders advertise, look at all of it, not just percentage of the purchase, percentage of the rehab. Look at the total loan they'll cap at because it's usually like in small print, and that really does change the entire. I mean, We could say that too. Like we will fund up to 100% of everything, but we'll still cap at 75%, which will bring everything back down to normal terms. And then, excuse me, average loans right now for bridge loans are about 10.5% with experience, 1 point, $1,500 processing fee. And we talked about, what Dave said about the promo is everyone in this organization, you guys have a special offer with us to do a no points on your flip. Your first flip with us is no point, but then all your processing fees are 500 with us, just as a relationship builder and just try to, like for us, we're direct, they're costs that we can cut down to help people scale. So added perk, make sure you take a note of that one.
Hey, Melissa,
Okay. Yeah.
before we go on, and again, I mean, you set it up. You said, "Hey, it's competitive."
Hmm.
So that's I actually your quote was, "Investors are in the driver's seat right now," and you just showed it by saying, here's something extra to start a relationship with us and see how it goes." I did just want to highlight the 10% in resources, and then new investors, you want to see 3 months that they can make 3 months of payments. That kind of stuff is important to know. And I know we're going through quickly on this and people can read it later, but for newer investors, sometimes there's added requirements. It's all about risk management. And it's about
Hmm.
making sure you have those pieces in front of you. If they have a call with you, it's really kind of the beauty of that relationship for you to say, okay, where are you at as an investor? What
Yeah.
have you done in the past? Where are you right now? And you get to know them and then tell them what's coming so they know what to expect. They can navigate it. They make sure they have the reserves that are needed. And maybe what I'm getting at is the relationship with lenders should start now before you have a deal so you know what's coming. Maybe just say something on that and then keep going. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more because, and that's why I do this, is because I feel like the more people see it, when they come to me, they're more prepared. They're like, oh, like I didn't know that. They have more info knowing what we're going to expect. So I love those conversations of like, I don't have a deal yet, but this is where I'm looking. This is kind of what it's going to look like. This is my reserves. And just you'll get an idea of what lenders will do for you, but you'll also get an idea of how hard lenders will work for you because it's not easy to manage deals and stuff. And so lenders don't always want to do a deal if they know it's not gonna, like we're all over the ones that got to close now, but you'll kind of see how they operate too, because there are definitely times where it's busy and I have to triage my list and the ones that don't have urgent deals kind of get pushed to the back too, and I have to navigate that as a lender to make sure no one feels like they're not important depending on what kind of deal they have. So you definitely want to learn your communication style of the lenders you work with and like how they respond, how timely they are. If they take a few days, like you got to give them a few days notice. If it's urgent, like you figure out how you can get urgent to them. Like for me, my clients all know if they sent me an email and I don't respond and it's urgent, like I get a little text like, hey, I know you're busy, but this one's time sensitive. And then I'll go to it because it's just it's a relationship. So it is good. And you kind of get a good feel of, who you want to work with. I do too as a lender. I get calls all day from people and I'm, like the reality is not everyone's a good fit. So I'm always kind of like, okay, bye. Or there's ones where like I'm really excited and I'll find them on Instagram and like there's so much of us out there on both sides of it. Like you'll find where you work really well and your communication styles gel. And that's the relationship, regardless of rates. Sometimes like that's what's going to help you make investing fun and successful. Because the happier you are when you do it, the more your profit and progress you're going to make. I was going to say we definitely want to talk about this because the draws is where there's a lot of misconception. Everyone thinks like, oh, they're funding my rehab, and when we close, you're going to get all that rehab fund in your pocket to go either do your rehab or maybe go to Vegas. So that's not what happens. So say we agree that we're going to fund your purchase and we're going to fund 100,000 of your rehab budget. You're actually going to have that money moved into a fund for you to use as you do the rehab. And it's a reimbursement fund. So the dissolution of money at close is not a thing. Like that's where a PML is useful because they have more freedoms to be like, here's money to start your rehab, go ahead and go. Like it's a different relationship. We don't. So we would say, okay, you would come to us and say, I bought the windows, they were installed. We'll ask you to do a draw request through like a portal. We do virtual, in person, and then self-source draws. There's different ways. But then you verify that the work was done, it was paid for, and then we wire you that amount. So maybe if the 100,000 your windows cost 10,000, we'll send you 10,000. So now you're going to pay interest on that new 10,000 that was added to your loan. The 90,000 will still sit there interest free. Now that's called the non-Dutch thing, that thing I talked about earlier. And not every lender does that. You'll see some lenders with really, really good pricing, and you'll see Dutch. And that means that they compensated for their pricing being low and added interest from day one on that 100,000. So whether you use that money or not, you're going to pay interest from day one. Again, a cost that could kill your deal or just take away from your profit. So the thing to understand about draws is there's fees for them. Some lenders say you have to take 10 draws, they cost this money, and they take all that money at close. Where other lenders, and this is the way that we do this, is we only do draws as you decide. Like, you'll tell us, like, I'll probably do 4 draws. We'll say, yeah, that looks about right. And then you, throughout your project, you can take draws if you want. You don't even have to use that money. It sits there interest free. And some people get to the point where they're like, I don't need 4 draws. I just want to do 2. And then it's already in contract. I don't even need to worry about it. I'm going to sell it. And then they don't. So it just depends on how you want to do that. But it does save some money because you're not locked into having to take a draw. And they range from anywhere from 100 to 265 across like hard money lenders. And I know this because I see enough LOIs that I kind of see what I compete against. Our highest is 265 and our lowest is about a little over 100, and it's again per draw.
And Melissa,
Now,
how about
yeah.
timing? From a cash flow perspective, I'm paying a contractor on Friday. Work was just finished, just done, verified. I submit it through the portal. How long do I need to carry that until I get reimbursed?
So our average draw time is 3.5 days. So it's
Yep.
fast. But I would say the first draw is going to be longer. So I always say like give it 5 days, like 3 to 5 days. Um, and then I would say like bigger rehab, like a bigger draw, like you just did the framing and foundation or something. Like it might take a little bit longer just to diligence that because it's not like one person snips through it. There's a system that they review the pictures, they look at the invoice, and then they have to order the wire. So it does take a process, and we're all human. So, but we're 3.5 days. I would say in this market, draws is a huge thing. Like all of us are competing that way as well, of just who has the best draws process because it can kill your deal if you're not getting that money recycled back to you to use. And many people just have enough to do their rehab, so they can't just have that held up, and a GC won't keep working if they're not keep getting paid. So it is important to understand that process. And on our website, there's a link where we have anybody can go and click how we do construction draws. You can see our portal. And it was something over the years we've really improved on. We were terrible, like everyone. I mean, I remember draws were like 10 to 20 days when I first started. It was horrible. So I feel like we've come a long way. But yeah, the draws is a really big thing, draws and how reimbursements are done. And then just another note on when you're doing rehab and construction, one thing that most borrowers are shocked by, new ones, are builder's risk insurance. It's so expensive, like stupid expensive, but you are going to be required by any of us lenders to do it if you're changing square footage, you're changing layout, ground up construction. There's definitely ways to maneuver, like maybe not get builder's risk day one when it's ground up and you're not going to have permits for 9 months. Like we'll let you delay getting that builder's risk insurance, but you won't get a draw or anything until we have that in place and ready to go. So plan for that in your underwriting. If it's a big rehab, big changes in square footage, ground up construction, add that builder's risk on top of your liability insurance. And then the last thing I'll say about draws and rehab, getting organized would be really good, is really good on this end, because if you're doing the Burr method and you're going to hold this, when you come to us to do the refinance, we're going to ask you about your rehab. We're going to ask you what you did, how much you paid. So I'm always sad when I see someone who's scrambling with a loan and having to dig out Home Depot receipts and like scanning. I mean, it's painful, but it's a reality. I'm the same way. I have issues with certain receipts too. Um, but if you could get organized and track that stuff ahead of time, it makes it so nice. Like some of my really experienced borrowers will send me, you can tell it's a repeat package. It's like before and after pictures, ARV comps, all the spreadsheet of all the costs they've spent, the sums, the totals, the performas, and then receipts all scanned in the back of it. It makes it so quick to underwrite, and it just helps again keep that process moving fast. And you're not in the middle of your lives trying to dig up receipts and figure out how much that roof cost that you did last year. So, side note, track your rehab for all your deals.
So, Melissa, since we're short on time, there's a couple questions in here too.
Yeah.
Get maybe just tease the group on like what else are topics that you might cover, and maybe we just need to have you back again, or just
Yeah,
our communities.
yeah. So like the next part, so the whole next part is DSCR. So that was where I was going to talk about the other side. And I think like maybe that would be another good conversation to come back and talk about how that is. But on with DSCR, we talked about the Burr method, and that's something I always love talking about because that takes the fix and flip bridge loan, pairs it with the DSCR loan, and that's your Burr method. So this is the exit of the Burr. And when you find a lender, like when you're looking for, if your exit is burring, find a lender that supports that. So like we do a really good job because we don't charge you again when you do. So if you paid a point for the flip, we don't charge you the point again on the Burr because it on the DSCR because it's our loan. We funded it. We've probably tracked all the draws. We just don't make you do that again. So there are lenders that
A
do
lot
that.
of
So I
lenders
always,
do. Yeah, a lot of
yeah.
lenders do. So Tracy, let's do that for, we'll just specifically everybody who's doing rentals. So you're funding as a short-term fix and flip, a different, just you have options to exit.
Yeah.
One would be to flip it, another would be to keep it, and then you're making it easy. And let's just talk through what that looks like.
Yeah, so we can save DSCR for another time, but I'm going to scroll through because there was some stuff at the end just about borrowing power. And I'll leave, I know I have seven, I have really short time, but I want to go through this because this is stuff I can provide you to help. So some of the big factors with borrowing power is what you can do for yourself, and it's FICO. Like it's number one is protect your FICO. Many people have bad FICOs because they weren't monitoring them. They didn't realize they missed payments. They didn't notice something. There was fraud on there. So really monitor these guys. Find an app. Freeze all of your credit scores. Don't let lenders pull your credit just to do an application. And just make your payments, obviously, like those are important. But find a system to where you're really protecting your FICO because it is your like currency with us. And the other thing is experience. Like I know some people are starting out at zero, and that's okay. We lend to people with no experience, but as you grow, you will see like you will open more doors as you get experience. But not everyone understands how to build that. Like some people, so experience is really on title. So if you partner with somebody, you're going to be on title, that will count. If you're the GC for a project, that doesn't count. You're not on title. If you did the interior design of a project, not on title. If you were in an LLC you were part of an LLC that was listed on title for a project and you were part of it, that's experience for you. So understanding how we track that, all the lenders are kind of different, but we're all kind of the same. We really stick to who's on title, but we have different levels. So like for us at 3, you get better pricing, 5, 10, 20, and that's in the last 3 years. Other lenders might use 2 years. They have different numbers, but just understanding like how the lender looks at experience kind of helps you kind of set goals. Like, okay, when I get to 3, I'm going to get better leverage or better rate or something. Flips and holds count. So even if you rehab it and then you hold it, it'll count. But they have to have something that has been rehabbed. We want to know that you're rehabbing these things, that you have that experience. So not always turnkey. That doesn't really help your experience on far as like pricing and stuff. Overall confidence in you, yes, but not so much pricing. And then we look at properties. We don't look at doors. So a lot of times people will be like, I have 100 doors, or they'll say I have 100, and I'm like, wow. And then it's like 10, 10 buildings with tons of doors. So when we're talking to a lender, we care more about the titles, so the parcels and the closings, than we do about the doors, even though I know doors are important for you guys.
Got it. And then what is
Um,
the FICO score that you require?
So we go down to on the bridge, we'll go to 650, and then we'll go lower if there's good reasons, like repeat business, like something happened. Like there's lots of good stories of why the FICO's low. There's a lot of bad stories too. So it just depends. And then on the DSCR side, it's really, really weighted on FICO. It starts there, and that's the lowest we go is 680 on those guys.
Got it.
The cool thing about DSCR though is if you have like husband, wife, or partners, and one has a really low FICO and one has a really good FICO, we price off the really good FICO, which is
Hmm.
awesome. But on Bridge, if that's the same situation, we average the two. So sometimes that can kind of make it harder. But um, and then I provide this intake diligence sheet for all different loan types. So this is the Bridge. I have a DSCR one and construction. And this helps you really vet and really organize. It tells me everything as a lender what I need. But what you do is you fill this out, put your deal in here, and then you send this to the lenders you want pricing on. And it's if the lender can't price you with this information, you don't want to work with them. This is enough information we could be able to tell you in 30 minutes if we can do it and what pricing and leverage we can do it. So this helps you go faster and be more efficient. And when I see this, I'm going to answer this. When I see an email with 20 documents attached and like paragraphs of you and the purchase and why and your background, that's an after lunch email when I get through my closings and I have time to read it. So if you want to be seen by the lenders first, this is a great way to scale and get faster responses. Just cut and paste it. I get plenty from other lenders of intake sheets, and I just laugh because I think it's good. You got a price, and then I recommend all my borrowers use a personal financial statement, and this is a simple one. I provide it's in Excel. You can buy these. You can create your own. The moral is just have something where you're tracking and you're organizing, and it's kind of a living document. Um, this helps us as a lender not have to dig through stuff. We can kind of see up front like where your assets and liabilities are, and also see how your experience sheet is. There's a schedule of real estate tab with it too. And all of these I'll send to Tracy to have for you guys to use if you want as resources. And then the last thing that I do share is an underwriting calculator. I'm sure you guys have stuff like this, but you'd be surprised how many groups I talk to that don't. So if you don't have an underwriting calculator, use one, find one, create one, make one. This really helps you look at your holding costs. When I said pencil it through the exit, this shows you penciling through the purchase, the rehab, the cost of all your agents to buy the property and then to sell it again. And it really tells you like, are you really making a profit? And that's something I have some slides on deal structure of like where a profit looked amazing, and then when we actually put it through the pencil, it was still amazing, but not as amazing. So you can kind of see like the difference in what happens with holding costs and the hard cost to exit a deal. And then I'm going to skip through these because we won't have time for this stuff. But then this is my contact information. This my Instagram's down there, and then the QR code is if you want more information or you want to set up a call with me to do one-on-ones. This is kind of like our code with seven-figure funding, so we can flipping, sorry, so we can keep track of everyone that's kind of come through the system. So definitely use this QR code. But this is if you want information, if you want to get on my list for the promo, if you have like specific questions that you're just like, okay, you kind of talked about this, but I want to know more, like feel free to reach out and get on my calendar. I want to be a resource and help. And I feel bad because I like skipped half I feel like I left you guys with like, we
Melissa,
can flip, but we
we'll
can't
have
do
you back.
CR.
If you could stay a few minutes, there's a couple
Yeah.
questions too for those that can. And then Tracy, for some people who are connected via their phone right now or driving, is there a way for us to send out the link so that people can get the
Yes, I
no
actually
point
just dropped I
$1,000
dropped the
savings?
link that the QR code connects to. I dropped that in the chat.
Okay.
And we'll definitely share that, kind of across
With all the
everything
resources and the
when we send
information
out the
too, we can put
resources.
that out. Okay.
Yeah.
And,
All right.
and I'll send
Awesome.
my PowerPoint too, so you can have all the stuff we talked about today.
Great. I've got a question
Perfect.
from Jeff, and just thank you so much, Melissa, too, for those of you that have to drop for being on. You great energy. You kept it up the entire way. In the 5F framework that we have, focus, find, and then fund. This is a big piece of that funding. And as Adam said, this is one of those points where people say, "How are people doing this many deals?" Right? It's the funding is just so critical. So thank you everybody who was on. If you have some questions, Melissa can stay. I've got
Yeah.
one from Jeff. He was asking about proof of funds. So he said,
Mhm.
provide investors with proof of funds.
We do. And that goes to that relationship thing because I don't have time to make a letter for every deal that you're gonna that you want to make a letter for. So once you build a relationship with a lender, like I will give you a Word document that pinky swear that you're not going to change my verbiage, but you'll just change your name, the address, and the purchase price, and then save as PDF, use as a document. The only caveat though is tell your lender what you're making offers on, because then I get calls and I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, I know that property, and I have no idea what somebody's talking about or anything. So if you use a lender's letter, which we totally have, just cue them into like property that you're looking at, because then we're not in the dark.
Awesome. Okay, good. Let's see. Nahil's questions is a little, there's complexity to it. He said, I thought private lending loans were cheaper than hard money loans, and they can be, right? So it just depends, and there's certainly benefits of private money, and it also depends on kind of what your sources are of private money. So it's a little bit difficult to answer. You can really take
Yeah.
the answer of what you can offer consistently that comes from your organization, right?
Yeah. And I mean, like when somebody says it's cheaper, there's a lot of factors that go into making something cheaper, expensive. Like we're talking rate, down payments, the fees that go involved with it. So there's a lot of things that can make something more expensive, and not just at that one moment, like holding costs. A draws process could make something expensive. So I think like as investors, we need to not just focus on that rate or that fee or that something, but like the overall thing of the whole process. Like which process is more expensive? Is it going with this hard money lender who has great rates, has great fees, but their draws process makes it, like I have to do a draws process with them and it takes time. So that costs me holding costs. And, is it faster if I do a PML and pay a higher rate, but it's a shorter loan term because I had more flexibility and I could just keep funneling through and it was easier. So it kind of just depends on where you're at and if you're looking at the overall thing, not just like one fee. When people say, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm rambling, but it's hard to say something's expensive or not because it's
For
like there's so
sure.
many things involved with that. But generally, PMLs they're not lower than, I mean, I don't know many that are lower than 10%.
Melissa, can just because a lot of these guys came to our training, and
Yeah.
one of the we're talking about raising money from friends and family, not
Yeah.
sophisticated private money lenders who are like the kind of people who we're raising money from. We're not filling out applications. We're not.
Yeah.
They're not running my credit score. This is like true friends and family. We
Okay.
bucket them. We bucket them with three avatars. So you have the most expensive avatar, which would be like a sophisticated Sam. So if I were to go borrow money from Dave Morse because he's got a lot of it, Dave's going to be a sophisticated Sam. He's going to want.
Okay.
He's going to be 12 and 2 probably, but he's going to be real easy. Like I'm not filling an application. He's going to send the money. Easy
Yeah.
day. Then we have the balanced Ben, who isn't necessarily real estate savvy, but balanced Ben might want 8 to 12% in that range. And then we have what we call the cautious Claire. The cautious Claire, say my grandma. If I told my grandma I was going to give her 12% balloon payments at the end, Bill tells a story, but like she would think it's a scam because she's in a CD at 5%. She'd be happy just to get 6. Right. So that's my
Yeah.
cautious Claire.
Yeah.
So like private money is a loose term that the industry, I think,
Totally.
when we speak about private money, we're talking about human to human lending. Like Melissa, you're
Okay.
lending your personal cash or self-directed IRA to me and
Yeah.
my business. There are some lenders that are really hard money lenders that call themselves private money lenders, maybe because they're not institutional backed. They probably do have warehouse lines, but they're doing it a little,
Yeah.
they're raising a lot of their own capital. That's like, some other folks would know. But yeah, we talk private, we're talking people,
People.
people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's also just kind of like the different, like when I do these, I talk about like so that I think that's like a different, that's good to know. Like that's good to know that that is a perspective on private lending, because where I'm at, most of the private lending I'm around or see or compete against, is in place of me. So not always like in complement of me. What you guys have is a lot of stuff that would be in complement of what I do. A lot of my borrowers use private money for down payments and closing costs. And like we work together. Like I have private lenders that I refer people to because like I know that they need them. So I'm like, you should talk to them. Um, so yeah, that's like a good thank you for doing that because like I sometimes get too close-minded on like the institutionalized PML. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
totally get
I
it.
think it's also important to note, like from our perspective, we talk to our community about having all the types of lenders.
Yeah.
I need the hard money lender that can act fast but charges me a lot and doesn't have as many requirements. I need a good stable hard money lender that's got really fair rates. I need private money, like true private. Like we want people to have a strong capital stack so liquidity isn't the reason that they're not able to grow their business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hear it all the time where people are like, I just bought something and now I found this new deal. And we actually don't cap our borrowers on how many deals that they can do. Like eventually, like we're seeing like, are you exiting these deals? You know, like we want to see that happen. But it's you know, people are always like, I can do three with you. And we're like, yeah, like that's fine. It works out as long as, you know, like the numbers all work. So but yeah, it is kind of some people, like I said, when
Listen, give us some of the caps on that. Like, how much, what's the max cap that Conventus will lend? And then also we had a question from Charlie in here. Um, what was Conventus's highest leverage fix and flip loan?
Okay, so max cap, we go up to 10 million. And I'll
Okay.
tell you, like, in 4 years, I've gone there no time. The most I've done is like 8 million, but I do, you know, San Diego builds, multifamily, stuff like that. So I've never gone to 10 million. I don't think I ever will. But we do have borrowers that go up to 10 million and it is done. I've seen it through our company. But like max exposure too, like we don't have anything like that. Like we don't really, everything is really personal. Like our CEO actually like reviews every single loan. Like when I bring a loan in, he looks at it. Like he knows borrowers, he goes and visits guys. So it's really like relationship based. If we feel comfortable that they keep exiting, we'll keep lending. What was the other question, Max? What?
Um, yeah, highest
LTV,
leverage.
what's the highest
Yeah,
loan to value you'll do?
Yeah, so we're gonna the max like for our best, most qualified borrowers, we out the door every day, no committee to approve. Like we'll go up to 90% of the purchase price and 100 of the rehab. Now we have a program that goes up to 95 and eventually soon we've told we'll go up to 100 of the purchase price. But what's going to happen is that pricing is going to go up too. And it's going to be a matter of like, here's 100, here's 95, here's 90. These are the pricing. Which one do you want? And we have a lot of experienced borrowers who are like, ooh, 90 still looks really good. So you're going to pay for what you get in a way, but we are starting to add that option for a select number of, and I believe a lot of your students will fit into that, just with the higher leverage. We call it our built for speed program. So just the higher levers so we can be faster and
And
they're giving a, go
the
ahead.
percentage of after repair value.
We're always going to cap at 75. We'll never go a penny over that.
Yep. And
Cool.
then newer investors, is it often lower? No experience?
Yeah. So like my no experience, I'm a real estate agent. I just finally want to jump in and flip. Like those guys are getting 1099 and 1.80% and 100 every day, all day. So I think it's still really competitive. There are some not as great markets that maybe are in like the 11 and a half, 11 and a quarter, just because they're like lower turn markets, but it's still very competitive as far as like no experience. Once you get to like one or two, like now are getting options to get up to 85% of your purchase price. So we immediately like start lending more. And then I would say like about five is where borrowers also have enough experience that they can start being like, well, I've got a good track record. Like I want cheaper, like I want lower rates. And that's where I see a lot of times when I've had clients that I start with zero and they're up to like 10, 12. And that's pretty awesome for me because my experience in 3 years. So I've been here for 4 years. So I'm starting to see people like really like grow and scale. So it's kind of cool because, at first they were like, they'll take anything we'd offer because they just wanted a chance to start. And then they get up there and now they're like, well, I need better. I'm going to shop you. And so I love it because that's kind of like the nature of this beast. It's like the more experience you get, the more confidence to be able to like, well, I'm now a tier three. Like now what can you offer me? And I think we should start that a little bit sooner. Like it's like I said, like this is a sales industry. Like you guys are a commodity and just need to present yourself. Like you can't come to someone and be like, I'm a disaster with low FICO and no money. Like you need me because lenders don't need that. So you want to be organized. You want to show that, you manage your projects well, that you understand what's happening, and any lender will jump on a good deal. Like that's what we're out there looking for them. That's our job.
Melissa, thank you for being real. We're
Yeah,
definitely going to have you back to talk DSCR and rentals.
cool.
Thank you for your offer, and we'll get all that information out. Tracy will connect with you on all of that. Any
Okay.
last questions? The people are just saying thank you, great presentation.
I can't see the chat. I don't know where it went.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? A lot of compliments for you.
Okay.
It's
I'm
phenomenal.
not good I'm
We
not
have
good with
fire
computers.
emojis right now from
Oh,
everyone.
yay.
Yes,
So
a lot of
yeah,
fire emojis.
Oh,
yeah.
yay. And I
Good
know
stuff.
this is a lot because when my kids have heard me talk, and they're like, do you breathe? Like, I know, like, I just go. So if people, do not feel like, hey, Melissa, you talk about this, you lost me at hello, just give me a call. We'll sit down and chat and I'll try to break
Yeah.
it down at your level and kind of like how you want to intake it. So feel
So
free to reach out. I love that part.
the time to connect is now,
Mm,
not right when you get that first deal. Let's do this now and
no.
start the relationship, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate
Cool.
you all jumping on. Melissa,
Awesome.
thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Melissa.
Thanks to Melissa Korda for joining us. Remember, the right mix of hard money and private money is what allows investors to scale fast. If you're looking for the special terms that Melissa mentioned, check the link in the description and show notes, and I will see you on the next podcast.